We continue now at the top of Daf Yomi Aleph and Meseches Nazir Daf 5a. The Gemara is in the middle of explaining a brisa. The brisa says that according to Rebbe, Avshalom was a Nazir Olam. He was a permanent Nazir, and he would cut his hair once a year, as the pasuk says, Miketz Yomim Liyomim. And the Gemara explains, V'yolif Yomim Yomim mi Batei Arechoma. We learn out the term Yomim Yomim from the Batei Arechoma. That's the houses that are within a walled city. Ma'ahasim, just like over there, the term is used in order to mean Yud Beis Chodesh. It means 12 months. Afkan Yud Beis Chodesh. So to over here, it means 12 months. And Rashi says, V'yolif mi Batei Arechoma dechsibhu Yomim Tia Gulaso. It uses the word Yomim over there as well, in terms of the redemption of these houses. Ma'alahalan Yud Beis Chodesh Kedim Mefarish Beikra. Just like over there, it's 12 months, like the pasuk itself says. V'imlo Yigal Ad Melos Lo Shana Tmima talks about a full year. So too over here, again, it's Yud Beis Chodesh. Afkan Yud Beis Chodesh. And the Gemara continues, Rav Nahoroi Omer, Rav Nahoroi says, Megaleach achas l'lamed yom. Avshalom would cut his hair once every 30 days. Rav Yossi Omer, Rav Yossi says, Megaleach me'erev Shabbos l'erev Shabbos. He would cut his hair every Friday. Shekein matzinu b'vnei melachim shemegalchem me'erev Shabbos l'erev Shabbos. That's what we find is the custom by princes. They would cut their hair every single Friday. And the Gemara says, my time with the Rebbe, what's the reason of Rebbe? Yolif mi batei arechomes. Rebbe learns again from the batei arechome, the houses in the walled city. But the Gemara says, Va Rebbe hu da'amar, but Rebbe is also the one who says, Eini yomim pechusin mishnayim, that yomim is never less than 2. And Rashi explains, Va Rebbe hu da'amar v'meseches erchin, Rebbe says in Meseches erchin, Yomim tia gulaso ein yomim pechusin mishnayim. Rebbe says that yomim is not less than 2, and it means shimbola gala ba'oso yom. Let's say the person wants to redeem the house on that day, shemashkin olo, on that very same day, eino yachal gala at sheyavru olav beis yomim. He can't. He has to wait for 2 days to pass. Because you can't take the pasuk out of its simple meaning, and that's the simple meaning. So if that's the case, why did Rebbe understand from the Gzeira Shaveh that Yomim by Avshalom means a year? So Nigmar Mehai time of if you're learning from that pasuk, you could just as well learn that he would cut his hair every 2 days. And so the Gemara answers, Hi Gezerah Shava Mishum Kovid Gomir. This Gezerah Shava over here is because of COVID, because of the heaviness of his hair. That's the whole point, is that he would only cut his hair when it got heavy. Uvishnei Yomim Leka COVID. And in 2 days, you're not going to have hair that's heavy, so therefore it can't possibly mean he got a haircut every 2 days. So that's why Rebbe understands that it means every year. But the Gemara continues, V'yema Beis Shanim. Why don't we say that Avshalom cut his hair every 2 years? And that's the meaning of the word Yomim. D'chsiv, like the pasuk says, Vayhi it says, after 2 years of days, that's talking about the dreams of Paro, and so there you see that the word Yomim is used in the context of 2 years. And to that the Gemara says, Don in Yomim she'eni mo'em shanim, mi Yomim she'eni mo'em shanim. If we're going to be learning out from the word Yomim, so this is an example of Yomim where there's no word shanim nearby, so we learn out from another example, like Batei Arechoma, where the word Yomim is used without the word shanim. V'al yochiach zeh, don't try to prove it from this case of Vayhi miketz shenasayim Yomim. This case you can't prove it from sheyeshi mo shanim, because here the word shanim, shenasayim, is next to the word Yomim. But the Gemara continues, V'yem alamed yom. Why don't we say that Yomim means 30 days and say that Avshalom cut his hair every 30 days? T'chsev, like the pasuk says, Ad chodesh Yomim, until a month of days. Here you have the word Yomim used in the context of a month. And to that, again, the Gemara answers along the same lines. Done in Yomim Sheini Moim Chadashim, Mi Yomim Sheini Moim Chadashim. We learn Yomim where there's no word Chodesh nearby, from another case of Yomim where there's no word Chodesh nearby. V'al Yochiach Zeh Sheyeshimo Chadashim. Don't bring a proof from this pasuk, which has the word Chadashim near the word Yomim. But the Gemara continues, V'yema Mehacha, why don't we bring a proof from here, from the following pasuk, Mi Yomim Yamima. The context of this pasuk, there's a pasuk in Shoftim, Yomim Yamima meant every 3 months, so we should say that Avshalom cut his hair every 3 months. And the Gemara says, Don in Yomim mi Yomim, vein Don in Yomim mi Yomima. We learn Yomim from Yomim, don't learn Yomim from Yomima. The Gemara says, Umay nafkamina, what's the difference if the word is slightly off? V'atana devei Rabbi Yishmael, but it was taught in the yeshiva of Rabbi Yishmael. This is by Tzaras. It says, V'shava Kohen uvaha Kohen. It says the Kohen returns, it says the Kohen comes. Zuhi Shiva, Zuhi Bia. We learn out a comparison between the Shiva, between the returning and the coming. So that's also like a Gzeira Shava, V'shava Kohen uvaha Kohen, even though the terms are completely different. So why can't you learn Yomim Yamima? Who cares if the terms are slightly off? And the Gemara says, Hani mili heicha deleka dedamile. No, that's only in a situation where you don't have other words that are more similar, so then you can make a limud like v'shav hakohen uva hakohen. Aval heicha deika dedamile mi dedamile yalfinan. But if you have a word that is more similar, you're always going to choose the word that is the most similar to the word that you're trying to learn to. And the Gemara continues, Ika diamri, there are those who say another answer why we don't learn from miyamim yamima, because minaya dinan dechol tlasa yarchin chad zimna. How do we know? That pasuk over there was talking about the fact that the Benos Yisrael, they would lament the daughter of Yiftach, and it says miyamim yamima, and it's clear from the pasuk that it would be 4 times a year. So the assumption is it's every 3 months. But how do we know that it was really every 3 months? Every 3 months they would lament 1 time. Dilma arba zimni b'shata. Maybe it just simply means 4 times a year they would lament. But who says it was every 3 months? Arba yarchin chad zimna, train yarchin b'chad zimna. Maybe they waited 4 months one time. Maybe they waited 2 months the next time. You don't really know that pasuk means every 3 months. So that's why that pasuk is not a good source. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Nehoroi Omer, the Brisa said that Rabbi Nehoroi says, Megaleach achas l'shloshim yom, that Avshalom would cut his hair once every 30 days. My time, and what's the reason? Gabe Kohanim mishum dika COVID. The reason why the Kohanim, they did it once every 30 days was because every 30 days, that's when the hair begins to get heavy. Hachanami ika COVID. Here also, it's the same reason when we're talking about Avshalom, he would cut his hair when it got heavy, which would be once every 30 days. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Yossi Omer in the Brisa, Rabbi Yossi says, Megaleach me'erev Shabbos l'erev Shabbos, he would cut his hair every week on Friday. The Gemara says, Ma'ika beinei l'shar achoi, but if that's the case, what's the difference between him and his other brothers? If all princes cut their hair once a week, so in what way was Avshalom different? And the Gemara answers, Yom Tov shechol lios be'emsa Shabbos. Let's say at a situation where Yom Tov falls out in the middle of the week, the achoi megalchin hu lo megaleach. His brothers, they would cut their hair at that point in time, but he would not cut his hair for Yom Tov that fell in the middle of the week. Inami or legaluche min safra demale shabsa, talking about getting a haircut in the morning of Friday. Achoi megalchin iu lo megaleach ad panya. His brothers, they would cut their hair even on Friday morning, but he would not cut his hair until the afternoon. And the Gemara continues, Hani arboim shana maya viditayu, with the 40 years that are mentioned in the pasuk. This is the pasuk by Avshalom that was mentioned at the end of the previous Amud. What do we mean to say 40 years from what point in time? It says at the end of 40 years. And the Gemara explains, Reb Nehoroi Omer mishum Reb Yoshua. Reb Nehoroi says in the name of Reb Yoshua, the pasuk means to say, L'kates mem shana, this took place 40 years after Shashalu lehen melech. It was 40 years after they asked Shmuel for a king. And the Gemara says, Tana was taught, Osa Shana, Shashalu lehen melech, Hishnas Eser l'Shmuel haramasi. That year, when they asked Shmuel for a king, that was the 10th year of Shmuel. And the idea is that was the 10th year of Shmuel's leadership. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah, Stam Nazirus Lamed Yom, Stam Nazirus, if a person takes upon himself to be a Nazir, doesn't specify the amount of time, so it's assumed to be 30 days. And the Gemara says, Menohani Mili, where's the source for this? Amar Rav Masna, Amar Rav Masna says, the pasuk says, Kadosh Yiyeh, the pasuk says, Kadosh Yiyeh, Yiyeh begematria telasan have. The word Yiyeh in gematria is 30, that's how we know that Stam Nazirus is Lamed Yom. Barpada, Amar Barpada says, Keneged Nazir Nizro Ha'amurim B'Torah, Lamed Chaser Achas. It corresponds to the words Nazir or Nizro. Those words are stated in the Torah 29 times, and that's how we understand that Stam Nazirus is Lamed Yom. And the Gemara says, Rav Masna nami neilif mi nazir nizro. Rav Masna also, why doesn't he learn it out from the number of times that the word nazir or nizro is stated in the Torah? Amar Lach, and the answer is, he responds to you, ahulid drasha. Those times when he uses the word nazir in the Torah, it's used for other drashas. For example, miyayin v'sheicher yazir. The pasuk says miyayin v'sheicher yazir, and that teaches us lesser yein mitzvah ki yein rishus. It teaches us that not only is the wine of rishus prohibited for a nazir, also the wine that's a mitzvah is also prohibited for a nazir. And another example, ki yafli lindor neder nazir lahazir. What does nazir lahazir teach us? Malamed sha nazirus chala al nazirus. It teaches that one nazirus can be chal on another. If a person declares himself a nazir and then declares himself a nazir again, so he's actually going to be obligated in 2 terms of nazirus. And so the point is, since these terms of nazir, lahazir, all of these terms are used for drashas, so therefore we can't use it to teach us that stam nazirus is lamed yom. And we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Hey Amud Beis.